Pranams to Sadhguru and pranams to Swamiji. So, all of you must be amused what a young chap would do in a peace conference where people are talking about abstract concepts and about peace, reconciliation, and justice. And sometime before me, our learned professor was talking about how mind is an abstract concept. So one of that abstract concept I'm gonna elaborate upon, and we're gonna explore how we have established peace in lives of multiple peoples, individuals, ethnic groups, organizations, and many more. So let us come to this. How do we begin? Where do we begin from? So when we talk about peace, how do we see peace as? Is it peace within communities? Is it peace between nations? Is it peace in groups? Peace in family? Or peace in an individual? And since, apart from the psychological background, I also have background in philosophy, and that's how I started following Swamiji and started learning, and he introduced me to a lot of scholars here, and that's how I'm very frequent to Sri Peetham. So there are Prakrit Sutras, Je Ante Hasi, Te Bahisi. They also say what is in the Pindanda, that is reflecting the Brahmanda. And, drawing the parallels from the yoga and all of other philosophies, let's focus on individual peace. So we'll do some biopsy how an individual's peace is established, or how an individual attains peace, not the last peace, but everyday peace which I'm talking about. And here in psychology, there are multiple schools, like Professor told. He's talking about Gestalt therapy, he's talking about behavioral sciences. He's talking about so many schools, and every school has their own establishing, how a human frame is work and how he behaves and how he responds and all of that. One school which I will derive my basics from is neuro-linguistic programming. It's called NLP in short form, but it's a very latest developed school of thought, and somewhere in 1960s it was developed. But even before that, the references of that I found in Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, Hemachandracharya's Adhyatma Upanishad or Yoga Shastra. We have found Sanskrit shlokas, we have found Prakrit verses which talk about the same process which has been established or discovered in 1960s by two professors, Dr. Richard Bandler and Dr. John Grinder. And then also it was not accepted academically because there was no proper white papers established, or you need to have some research done on X number of individuals for a prolonged number of times to establish it. So in 1990s, one professor, Dr. Ramachandran from California, he proved it. So this was the scientific frame, or how it developed and how it origined and all of it. Well, we come from a process where we are not seeing individuals as humans. The real humanity in seeing individuals, they might be distressed or they might be a problematic person. And when these kind of people, they get power, they get position, they get the right resources in a set, they create conflict on a larger note, and that becomes huge in some time. And at the right time, if these conflicts are either suppressed, resolved, or done anything, and it's arrested in the right pace, right moment, a big incident is stopped. So when we are talking about larger peace, larger conflict resolution on a global, national, state, community level, I'm zeroing it down to an individual. And I'm taking references from neuro-linguistic programming, some references from Jain philosophy, some references from Shakta Tantra, some references from yoga. And drawing a format in which we can address an individual and address his peace. And once peace and harmony is achieved in individual, definitely the butterfly effect, or the whole concept of psychology that you cannot not influence, Like, one person in the seminar starts talking, and then there are 4 more people who'll talk. One person starts yawning, and there's some more people who'll catch it up. And in a group, if one person starts clapping, everyone starts clapping. And that's how, as humans, we repeat the behaviors, we mirror the behaviors. And in 1990, that mirror neurons was established by Dr. Ramachandran. Like in a group, like, you're going, and then there's a person who smiles me. Whether you know the person or not is immaterial. If a person smiles to you, sometimes you smile back. And that's the instant trigger response stimuli. And now this response we're going to study in much more deeper format, that every individual influences every other individual. Like who will actually really think the intention is so powerful. One random sannyasi, 60-year-old, 60 plus, who's touched a lot of lives around the world. When he's sitting in one corner of Chennai, and then calling people from all around the globe, and trying to create peace and all of that, what effect it will have? Who really cares? I'm sorry if I'm going over the board, but I'm genuinely trying to establish a concept. And one random butterfly in Jim Corbett Park, if it is flapping its wings in a certain way, and then seeing that some more butterflies join it, and then there's a difference, or there's a disturbance created in the atmosphere. And now that disturbance, it doesn't like transforms immediately, like it's not internet or WhatsApp that you send a message, next moment it's done. It takes some time. And that disturbance in the atmosphere creates a tornado in Ontario. What's the distance? Thousands of kilometers. And it's not even going via Wi-Fi or going via land cable, it is traveling in an atmosphere. So I believe all of you sitting here discussing about peace, invoking the energies for peace, and doing all kinds of activities under the guidance of Swamiji is definitely going to create some butterfly effect on a larger context and influence the communities. So I think we should take this moment in time to appreciate the whole activities of the foundation. Let's get back. So now we have understood that one individual is powerful enough regardless of where he's standing and what is he doing. And at this point in time, how a person is peaceful or is in distress or is excited or is happy, unhappy, miserable, sad, depressed, or carrying multifold of emotions, how does that work? So one branch of psychology tells like that at a very moment, thousands of thoughts is going on. And I think yoga also talks about that, and most of the religions talk about it. Whether they believe in Atma or not, Astika philosophies believe in Atma, and Nastic philosophies don't believe in Atma, the creator God or not. Whether you believe in soul or not, but one thing everyone accepts is, in a moment, thousands of thoughts are coming. And in a day, we don't know how many thoughts are going across, right? So every time a thought is occurred, it comes in 5 formats, and based off the 5 formats, there are 1 or 2 formats which are dominant. The 5 formats are visual, auditory, kinesthetic, gustatory, and olfactory. Basically, the Pancha Indriyas, which we talk about in philosophy. The visual is the eyes, the auditory is the ears, and the kinesthetic is the feeling, is throughout your skin. And most of our psychological feelings and emotions are triggered by all these 5 senses. And these thoughts, there is a structure of thought. So, my friend Rahul comes and tells me, Antriksh, I'm thinking of planning a trip to Ladakh. Now that very thought, before he's telling me this, he's already made hundreds of pictures of he traveling to Ladakh. He's already singing the songs, or probably listening to the sounds of the car and the waterfalls and whatnot. So even before a person is actually thinking a thought of violence or of peace, the person has lived that reality inside. So again, coming back, one moment, thousands and thousands of thoughts. Let's just pick up one thought, and that thought triggers the brain to release certain chemicals. So all of you talk about adrenaline, cortisol. Oh my God, social media addiction is such a big thing. We should do dopamine fast. We talk about jargons, but let's simplify for all of us so that we can actually create some difference in our personal lives. And we don't know what kind of difference we create for ourselves might create an avalanche or might create a butterfly effect in a larger society. So when a thought occurs in the brain, now this is automatic. So most of the psychology schools talk about conscious, unconscious, superconscious, subconscious, and they have tons and not tons, but at least they have a dozen of divisions of consciousness. And at the end, if someone is having a spiritual background of, or some one or two psychology schools, they also called about God consciousness. So we're not going to go in detail of all of this. It is very complicated and jargonalized. Let's simplify it into two. I'm not even touching God consciousness. Swamiji and other scholars, respectfully, please you talk about it. I'm going to touch about two things: conscious awareness and unconscious awareness. So let's just put two baskets. One basket is conscious awareness, the other basket is unconscious awareness. So unconscious awareness is bundle of everything which is not in conscious. So whether you say subconscious, superconscious, God conscious, everything I'm just putting in the unconscious basket. The conscious basket and unconscious basket is like not two sides of a coin, but it's actually a flowing mechanism. If you take it as a liquid, like consciousness, you don't take it as a solid per thing, like you don't say two sides of a coin or a tip of an iceberg, but consciousness flows throughout your body. Like some people, you must be sitting, and then all of a sudden your leg has slept, and then you move your leg. So your conscious awareness has moved out from leg and has come back to leg. And the moment you move, and then all of a sudden you start hearing the sounds of the birds outside. Now your conscious awareness is drifted from the feeling in the feet to the sound of the birds. And then all of a sudden someone opens the door and the focus goes there. That's how our conscious awareness flows at every moment. And that's how many people metaphoralize it like monkey mind, fickle mind. One moment it is here, one moment it is there. But at same time, the same person whose mind is distracted in all the things going outside, the same person is catching the ball in one shot in the game of cricket. The same person is cooking relentlessly. Or the same person is typing and doing the IT work or whatever work. So, the awareness, a tip of the awareness is conscious and the rest of that is unconscious. It's the same awareness. It's the whole one entity. Now that entity, in its conscious awareness, pictures come, immediately it sends a signal to the brain and the brain releases chemicals. And the moment chemical is released, no amount of motivation, no amount of advice will work. A lot of people try to mock with awareness, or probably just they are ignorant, they try to mock. It's just depression, why don't you come out of it? It's okay, you come out of the bed, go out, you'll find new things to do. People who are going through sadness, yes, they are able to come out. But people who are going through depression or any kind of syndrome or any kind of proper mental illness which is diagnosed, they might not be able to help themselves. How much ever we try to push, they are just not able to move. And how it is not happening is because enough of chemical is already being released in their body. Kitna bhi karo, kuch nahi hoga. And how do we change this? So instead of asking them, telling them, we change the pictures they are making in their head. One simple thing we can do is, instead of telling, just come out, you'll be fine, we can ask them questions which push them to make brighter pictures in the head. So when we do that, the chemicals released in the body changes. And the moment the chemical is changed, if you need to have a panic attack, you need to have stress hormone and the hormone which makes you feel turbulent outside. Maybe little adrenaline and little cortisol and little more hormones. But the same adrenaline, when it's put into a purposeful application, the person becomes a very good sportsman. So now, how do we respond to the trigger is important. Now, enough number of these triggers are repeated, there's something called conditioning has happened. There's something called sanskar has been created. So now that becomes a behavior. And how do we tackle the behavior of feeling good, feeling peaceful? And how do we establish it is by repeating it. The three ways in which a behavior is formed. One is repetition. It's not 21 days. You repeat something for 2-3 days also, the behavior will be formed. 21 days is a myth. It's also social media, I can say it's a social media thing. Like it's, you take new things and come, but that's not real, but it will get a lot of attention. It's a strategy. 21 days is not real. But you repeat it enough number of times, it becomes a habit. Second thing is intensity. I might not remember A plus B the whole square, but I can remember the MCBC ka abuse words which the rickshaw man has told to the other rickshaw man as a child in second standard. Or the abuse word. Because it's very intense. Or some movie song, I don't have to really remember like shlokas very hard, repeat it, Vande Krishnam Jagat Gurum or something like that. I don't have to repeat it like that so many times. But ek baar wo gana chal gaya, the song is played, it's there in your brain because it's intense. And then third thing is how a conditioning has happened is speed. So repetition, intensity and speed creates a conditioning or sanskar or behavior. And then if we create more and more behaviors of peace and less behaviors of conflict, and that's what all of us are, we are aiming towards creating a better society, better nation, better human, better individual. And that's what I've tried to address from a psychological perspective, how peace is established. In NLP, the best and the most human aspect of NLP is we don't see humans as humans, we see humans as a chemical factory. And the more better chemicals you release, and you condition the factory in releasing more better chemicals so that they can direct their unconscious and conscious awareness to a better direction. Thank you. That's Antriksh Tatia from Mind Rewiring.